Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to What's the Word? I'm your host, Willie Little, and today we're here with Phil Rosnik. Good afternoon, Phil. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a graduate of Prescott, class of 86, if you can believe that. That was the fifth graduating class for the Prescott campus. That's the only things physically that are still there, those one-story buildings in the middle of campus.
Yeah, the maze.
Those were mostly our classrooms. The Davis Learning Center had just opened. It was brand spanking new, and a couple of the dorms were there, the older ones up on the top of the hill. Other than that, it's all new, and a lot of those older buildings are going away. So progress is really spectacular.
Have you heard about the new construction?
Well, I serve on the chancellor's board,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
I get all that information all the time.
You might have more up-to-date information than we do as students then.
I probably do a little bit.
That's exciting. What was your major?
So it was a little different back then. I got a BS in Aviation Business Management, and then maybe we still do it this way. We had concentrations that you could turn into associate degrees.
What do you mean
So
by that?
you have a certain amount of electives you can pick, right? So that they can be in any of the schools. So I actually, for all my electives, I selected two different courses: Aeronautical Science, so all the pilot stuff, and then secondly, I did a lot of engineering classes to fill in my electives. So
Hmm,
I actually ended up with an associate's in two of those as well.
cool. So you just pretty much took a minor?
Almost. Yeah, it's a little different then than it is today, but yeah, it's pretty close to a minor. Kept me busy.
What was your favorite memory from Embry-Riddle?
A lot of my roommates, classmates are still very good friends of mine today. The road trips we took, hanging out, we could drink in Arizona when I was there at 18. So a lot of those everyday things, those are the things that really stick out.
It's the littlest moments that make the biggest difference.
It's true. That's life. That's when life is happening.
Do you have any stories from Embry-Riddle?
Ones that I would like to share.
If you want.
There are
No
some that I
pressure.
don't want recorded, but one of the cool traditions that we did start was a bunch of buddies. We would go to the Reno air races in September every year. And so we'd rent an RV and we would drive up to Reno and we kept going. We'd meet. It's like a mini reunion for our friend group in Reno every year.
It sounds like an awesome tradition. So you said that you as alumni would all meet together at that air race?
Yeah, so a lot of my roommates and people I used to hang out with, wherever we were in our careers, we would travel back to Reno.
So you're
Yeah,
talking about wherever they were in your careers. Where are you at in your career right now?
I have been retired for over a decade now. I am
Hey.
doing the things I like to do and nothing else. And a lot of that involves working with Embry-Riddle. I mentioned I'm on the chancellor's board. I'm also on two of the philanthropy boards for the engineering college and also for the CBSI college. Do you know about those?
Not quite. Can you think you can explain it?
Yeah, so there are philanthropy councils. They're on both campuses
Hmm.
and they're aligned with each college. And basically what it is, it's a group of alumni and each council member donates $2,000 a year. And then those monies are used to advance student projects, some of the clubs, and we listen to their projects and then we decide which ones merit how much financial support. And it's just a lot of fun.
That is really cool. It probably allows a lot of students at Embry to actually be able to accomplish a lot of the things that they want to work on.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome. So what did you do before you were on the philanthropy council?
Well, career-wise, I actually thought I was going to be a professional pilot, and I was just getting the business degree as kind of a backup just in case. The Frontier pilot came in and talked to us, and he sat down and he was just going to go through a day in the life of a pilot, right? Because we all aspired to be airline pilots, or so he was just coming in to talk to us. And so he sat down in front of the class and he said, "Okay, I'm going to answer all your questions, tell you what it's like. That's absolutely what I'm going to do." He said, "First, he goes, if I were sitting where you are, I would be thinking about one thing, and that's having a good backup plan for a flying career." Because he said, I just lost my medical due to macular degeneration. And he says, so now I'm a 43-year-old guy. I used to be a pilot. 2 weeks ago I was a pilot. And now I have to figure out a new career path midlife. So he said, it's so much easier if you do that thinking where you are, at 18, 19 years old than at 43. And so I actually switched. That's when I did the electives for the flying and I actually got the degree in business. Long story short, I got a first job offer in the industry, aerospace manufacturing. And when you're flight instructing and you actually get a good job offer with real money, it's hard to go back. So flying has just been a really fun hobby for me. I own an aircraft, I fly a lot, but never did it professionally, other than flight instructing.
That's cool. So you talked about being able to work in industry. Where did you work at?
I ended up joining Goodrich Aerospace, which merged with United Technology, where I spent the bulk of my career. But I spent 20 years with that organization. And I finished up as the vice president, general manager of the electronics division. We called ourselves the brains of the operation because we did all the smart things that made all the mechanical things work properly. That's
Nice.
about, yeah, exactly.
How did you use writing in your everyday life?
All forms of communication are so important. I would say writing might be a little bit more important only because it lasts longer. Like when you and I are having we're recording this conversation, but if you and I have a conversation, whatever you say in the conversation kind of ends when the conversation's over, right? And then people's memories fade. They don't really remember what was said or exactly how it was said. But once you put something in writing, whether that's in a formal letter or an email,
Hmm.
it's there forever. And so that's why written communication, doing it well, doing it correctly, super important, especially in the business world. All forms of writing, you're trying to accomplish something, right? So it's good to spend a couple of minutes before you start saying, what am I trying to accomplish here? Usually you're trying to deliver data, information to somebody about something. Okay. If it is, I want it to be accurate. I want it to be timely information. I want it to be easily understood, right? If you're trying to persuade somebody, you need a good persuasive argument. Is it factual? Is it persuasive? Does it make its point? Will it get action or will it get ignored? So, what are you trying to do? Is always the first place to start and then kind of outline, okay, how do I make that successful? Good example when I was on campus. Maybe you still have this. I don't know, like technical writing class. Do you have a
Oh, yeah.
technical? Okay. So we had that too. And our final project for the semester was any topic you want. It had to be something that would improve the campus or the student experience on campus. And that was it. It could be anything.
What did you pick?
Our team did some thinking and said, how would we like to improve student life? And we had a kid, he said, why don't we talk about starting a radio station on campus? We said, okay, how do you make even a small radio station? That could be a lot of money. So we did our research. We went, found an expert in town that used to set up radio stations. He said, you can just have it broadcast on campus. It can be a very low watt transmitter that only goes a mile and a half. Doesn't cost a lot, would hit all the dorms, but it wouldn't go much beyond campus.
Which is probably a good idea anyway, just for safety concerns.
Correct, all kinds of things. So that was kind of our model. We figured it out. We got advertisers from town. It said, if we started a radio station, would you like to advertise? Had a list of 15, 20 businesses that said, absolutely. We want to hit the
Nice.
student population, right? Got it. We got an A.
Good work.
We got it. So secondly, we got to go sit with the Chancellor daily and present it, and he implemented it. Cost about $2,000, and he said, go make it happen. Here's your money. It was called KERAU. KRAU. It operated in the mornings from like 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then in the afternoons. And it was
That's really
all
cool.
staffed and all run by students. It's gone now. I don't know exactly. It lasted for a few years, maybe 10 years, and then it faded out. Here's another good example. I think it was my second job. It was for a small international aerospace distribution company. It's about a 20-person operation.
Okay.
Had two owners, and they would take European manufactured aircraft parts that they would contract with the manufacturers, import the product to the U.S., and then distribute it to the U.S. airline. So I got hired, and it was so I'm the new guy, and the two bosses, the two owners came in, and they said, all right, we got a letter from a new startup airline. Here's the letter they just sent in. They said, take that, look at what they're looking for. And they said, by the end of tomorrow, take a shot at writing an introductory letter from us to them, write a proposal about how a structured agreement would look. I said, then we'll go over it tomorrow. I said, okay, that sounds great. So for the next day, I did the research on what they were looking for and got some information from the parts manufacturers on things that they needed and, delivery timelines, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Things you would normally think about with a supply contract. Wrote it up, gave it to the bosses at the end of the day. So the next day they came in and they called me into their office and they said, well, we want to have a little discussion with you. They were very serious, serious faces.
Oh.
Oh. So I sat down and they said, this is really good work. I said, as a matter of fact, we don't want to change any of it. I said, we'll sign it right now and send it out. You can ghostwrite for us anytime. So that was a super high compliment, right? And that was early in that job. I had just gotten there. But the real kicker was when my first paycheck came in, it was much higher than it should have been. And I went and I talked to them and they said, well, we didn't understand that you were this high quality of a player. So they said, well, we weren't paying you enough. So we gave you a 30% bump in the first week.
So successful writing pays off, kind of literally.
Big money, right? So not only did it secure me the job and the respect of my bosses, it immediately showed up in my paycheck. So now go further in my career where I got further up in organizations, bigger jobs, and you get the chance to hire people, right?
Is this at the same company or a different company?
No, this would be now at United Technologies. We were looking for a stress engineering manager. So we
Okay.
didn't have anybody that was quite ready for the promotion internally. When they got down to the final three candidates, they all have good education. They all have excellent experience. Their credentials are very equal. So now it's more
social skills
Yeah,
and
right. Who's going to fit better? They went away and we were having our discussions internally, and all three of them the next day sent us thank you letters, just saying, thank you for the interview, thank you for the time, appreciate all, all the right things.
Mhm.
Two of them were very well written, and one of them had two spelling errors and two grammatical errors.
Oh,
And they'd all interviewed extremely well.
so this is when it gets down to the nitty-gritty details.
And we sat there and we said, well, what do you think? And we said, well, they would probably all work out well professionally, but they said we have to exclude this candidate because on a letter for a job interview hire, which arguably is an important piece of documentation for the person at that moment in time, they didn't take the time to make sure it was grammatically correct and the spelling was all right. And so they say, well, basically, that person doesn't have enough attention to detail or doesn't have enough awareness of how important something is to do what we need them to do it.
Yeah.
So they were eliminated, and it was not based on anything in their background, their resume, their interviewing. It was the letter they wrote to us. So there's three great examples. I got a project accepted in an A, I got a pay raise by doing it well, and somebody didn't get a job because they didn't do it well.
That's a lot of pressure on writing, so gotta learn how to do it right.
This is the real world, right? This is what we do.
Did the writing at Embry-Riddle help you prepare for writing in real life?
So I had a good educational background in high school. You have to do it correctly. It has to be right. They didn't accept it if it was poorly written. You went and did it again.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, in educational pursuits, high school and even at Embry-Riddle, there are consequences if you don't do it correctly or you do it poorly, but usually there's a redo button. Most professors, most teachers will hand it back to you and say, why don't you go rewrite it, take another crack at it. You don't get redos in the professional world. If you do
That's good to
something,
know.
I mean, inside of your work team, yes. But anything that's going to go outside as a finished product, there's no redo. If it's not well written, if it's not well constructed, if it's not well thought out, it's a problem. And
Yeah.
there's no redos on that stuff. Not talking about work product inside of a team, but once it's coming out, it better be right. And the team better make sure it's right. And conversely, when you do it well, that makes a big impression also.
So kind of what you're saying is like Embry-Riddle allowing to do the redos for students is almost like a stepping stone to real life when all of a sudden that redo button won't be there anymore.
It absolutely reinforces not everything's going to be a perfect work product every time. And I certainly submitted some product, when I was tired the night before and I just sent it in because the deadline was now and I didn't want to be late and it wasn't perfect. Very, very hard sometimes to edit your own work because you're too close to it. Make sure you leave yourself enough time to do a good, fresh eye audit of your own work or let somebody else do it.
I heard another psychology trick when you're editing papers is to change the font and change the size of it so that way it looks to your brain subconsciously like it's a new document.
I never heard about that one.
I've actually never tried it, but it seems logical. It seems like it would work.
I don't know why I wouldn't. Give things a try.
And it forces your brain to think of it like a new piece of writing. And that way you can like catch things that you would gloss over before when you would skim it.
I also found just if you leave yourself enough time to step away from it for a while, go back to it maybe the next day, that's helpful.
Definitely. On that note, do you have any advice for current students of Embry-Riddle?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. Like if you're going to be an airline pilot, that's your desire. You're going to be an Air Force fighter pilot, that's your direction. Those careers are fairly easy to map, right? There's some stepping stones. You're going to zig and zag a little bit, but you know where you're headed, you know what you're trying to do, and it's pretty focused in one direction. There's other jobs that are extremely unorganized in that way. Engineering would be one of them. All business world degrees, they can take you just about anywhere. So we have a lot of those people that are coming to Embry-Riddle, and I wished I would have had this conversation when I was there, which is just to spend a few meaningful minutes with yourself, not all the time, but once a year, say, is the career going where I want it to go? Is it satisfying? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? Does this job become a stepping stone to something else that I want to do? Or am I just treading water here because the pay is good, maybe, or I like living in Southern California and I'm a surfing dude? You got to decide what are the priorities, think about that, and say, am I getting where I would like to go ultimately? Now, it doesn't mean you can't take a little, side journey and have some fun doing some things, but you need to be thoughtful about some of that. I never was until I was probably 10 or 12 years into my career. I was just kind of a little bit directionless, just kind of jumping from one opportunity to the next, which wasn't a bad thing, but it really wasn't directional either.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
it's
so,
moving forward with a purpose.
and the second one is when you get to be in a position where you're hiring people, look for people that are smarter than you, look for people that are more skilled than you are, because they'll be great employees. And if you are top of your game, then look for people that are also skilled in areas that you are not. Like if you don't like public speaking, get somebody who is a good public speaker. So if you're very good at what you do, now look for people that have complementary skills so that your team is stronger.
That
Those are
makes
two,
sense.
those are two things I wish I'd heard earlier. When you're out there in the working world, you're going to have employer retirement plans. Max them out every time, all the time.
Okay.
Your future self will thank you. The money that you put away in those plans, the earlier that money gets put away, the
The more
stronger.
compound interest it gets.
Exactly. You have that whole career track of years where that money can work for you. The next thing is you get out there in the career. When you make a work commitment, meet it. If you can exceed it a little bit, do that, but always meet it. Meet the timeline, meet the objective, and don't be late. And of course, we're talking about having high quality work when it comes out. Very important. And believe me, it's rare enough that it's really noticed. You are going to be the most highly sought after team member in the organization. When you find people in the workplace that are the part of the crowd that it's good enough. Yeah, those are people you don't want on your team anymore. When you're in aerospace, it's a tough business. You know why it's a tough business? Because perfection is the expectation every time, all the time, no exceptions. Mistakes kill. And so don't make mistakes. The last thing is be a really good teammate, because most of the big projects in life are done by more than one person. And even the smartest people, I had brilliant, R&D engineers that worked in the organization, just said, just give me the project. I'll do it. I don't need to be, all these people are holding me back,
What's an
right? I'd have
R&D
people,
engineer?
research and development engineers. We need something new designed. We had teams that did that. And I had brilliant PhDs, that would say, just give it to me, leave me alone, and in a month I'll have it for you. And I would always ask those people and say, are you an expert in every field of engineering? No. Just rattle off a few disciplines that are involved in whatever you're trying to design here. And they'd rattle off 4 or 5 or whatever. I said, all right. So you'd take a shot at it and you'd come up with something pretty good, right? They said, yes. And I said, if I put 5 people as smart as you on the same team, would you come up with something a little bit better than you would come up with on your own? And it
Probably.
would be pretty much impossible for them to say it probably wouldn't be a little bit better in some aspect than what I could do on my own.
And
And that,
especially if your team is diversified, like you were talking about, how you have
right,
one of each engineering specific.
right, exactly. But you just have logical conversations like that and say, I think the team would probably come up with a slightly better approach, or maybe a radically different approach than you might on your own after they work on it together. Because you'll find you do learn something from people that even don't have any experience in a certain area. We would actually, on really tough stuff that we're trying to do, we would actually take somebody that was not in the field at all and put them on the team. Because just like you were talking about changing the font size,
Mm-hmm. It's an
somebody who
entirely
knows,
new perspective. It's someone who's
right,
never seen anything like it before.
exactly. We take somebody from accounting and put them on the team
Ah,
because they will ask questions that everybody else takes for granted because they already have preconceived knowledge of what they think they're going to do. And the new person or the uneducated person in that area will ask questions and say, why are you doing that? Is that cheaper? Is it faster? Is it better?
or is
They'll
that
ask
just
those.
what's happening? Is that just the assumed standard?
Exactly. So anyway, it's a way to create better thinking and make sure that you haven't made logic leaps that aren't really solid, right?
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Certainly.
It was nice to talk to you, Phil.
A pleasure.
Thank you so much for meeting with me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well. Eat something nutritious.
This podcast is supported by the Department of Humanities and Communication at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. Our hosts and producers are Owen Smith and Leah Little. I'm Amelia Chesley, Assistant Professor of Professional Writing. Many thanks to the Prescott Campus Writing and Design Lab for hosting our transcripts. The intro and outro music is Wanderer by Alex. You can find us where most podcasts are found. And if you are a Prescott Campus alum, please reach out so we can feature you in a future episode.